ながいないと俺なんて何もできないんだ。何も。こんな俺がガッツの塊だなんて嘘だよな。
元気？
あっ。
どうしました？弱音を吐くなんて元気らしくないですぞ。
That scene is a hero's return. He's supposed to be really happy right now, but it's not. He misses everyone.
そう、我々はあなたがこちらに来るのを助けただけ。あなたがアシャンティに来たのはあなたがそれを望んだからなのだ。
嘘。私別の世界があるなんて知らなかったわ。
じゃああなたは自分の世界から逃げ出したかったのではないかな。
At Letta, you've got the same issue. People don't want to go home, do want to escape. Earth isn't fun, let's face it. So, Monster Rancher, I just showed you a scene from it. Should probably take a look at what the show is. Anime 1999, loose adaptation of a video game series that's like, it's not an adventure story, it's a farm where you raise monsters. It's called Monster Farm in Japan for a reason. But they adapt it into this, like, go on a journey, save the world thing. It doesn't follow the game's plot at all. And you've got Genki, the protagonist, is a lot like the characters you'll see later because he plays a ton of video games. He gets very genre savvy as a result. And while he's not a hikineet yet or anything, because he's a kid, he's really bored. He does not like school. You only see him looking out a window. So he gets sucked into another world and playing a PlayStation game. Society's collapsed after this ancient war. Everyone is terrorized by the antagonist, Mu. And you have this long history of atrocities between humans and monsters. And maybe you need someone uninvolved to fix it. Someone who's human, but who isn't from this world. Who's sympathetic toward monsters. And you've got this cycle of violence. You've got complicity. Like, no one... You can't have this system, this awful system, without everyone being involved and doing bad things somehow, but how do you stop it? And, like, you've got slave revolts. You've got slavery. This is a kid's anime, by the way. And you've got agreements, and you've got, like, finally sparing people and trying to break the cycle that shows up a lot. And how do you fix everything? Well, it sucks so much that you've got to go around and find the Phoenix to not only stop Mu, but to raise the dead, to restore the lost monsters. So, let's take a look at some of this backstory. It's unpleasant, so warnings. That's death. That's what death looks like for a monster.
多くの仲間がロストしていった。それだけではない。より過酷な労働に耐えられるよう、人間どもは我々に無理な実験を繰り返し、作業効率の悪くなった仲間は 処理室へ運ばれた。お前たち人間に聞こえるか？仲間たちの叫びが、ここに満ちている我らの憎しみが。
No Genki's face. He's not happy at all about this, and that's kind of the difference. That's kind of what makes him powerful in this world. So, we come to the last Isekai anime of this period, and it's fitting because, unfortunately, it gets cancelled. It's amazing, and it stops, like, I'm not sure if it's at the after 4 books or at the end of book 4, but it's 43 episodes, which you'll note is not an even core. It's not a multiple of 13 at all. It didn't do well enough. And it's a light novel adaptation. Today, like, that's normal. Every isekai is a light novel adaptation. Not the case here. I'm not sure if it was the first, but it was definitely one of the first big ones, and the novels are way older than the anime, or at least the first ones are. I think the series is still running. And after this, there really weren't many in, like, the mid to late 2000s. You've got a couple Digimon shows, but that's it. Anyway, there's a lot of emphasis on conformity, and it's not fun. Yoko has to dye her hair back on Earth because she's not dark-haired like a normal Japanese person, and which shows up in some other things too. But, like, she's supposed to be this good girl, this normal functioning member of society, and it really weighs on her. And in the other world, you also have these standards that people can't always uphold. And one of her friends thinks she's a legendary heroine and tries to take that power for herself, and, you know, this big, glorious adventure should be a pretty cool protagonist, except she's being manipulated. And there are a lot of language barriers. There are people who go into the other world for like 50 years and they only speak Japanese still. Most of these shows, the other world just speaks Japanese normally because, you know, from a storytelling perspective, you don't want to be dealing with a translator with every scene and stuff. But here, Yoko can, because she's special, but most people can't, and it causes a lot of issues. And what do you do about this? Well, you take over. You seize the throne. It's called 12 Kingdoms, and, well, sometimes the person summoned is a king or a queen. And the setting, you have people born from fruit on trees. Sometimes it gets blown back to Earth, and that's why sometimes people are special. And it runs very literally on Confucianism and the mandate of heaven. Like, you have these immortal rulers, but if they're bad, then eventually you have this period of, like, it's not even anarchy so much as, like, terrible weather and crop failures and stuff. And you have, because after long enough in power, it seems like everyone eventually goes bad. And the Kirin, which are creatures from Chinese mythology, choose immortal rulers, but that's only, like, they don't age or die. People can and do try to overthrow them. And you've got an antagonist later on who's like, he's rebelling against fate itself as much as against any king. Because, like, when you're in this world where there are gods that intervene, it's like, what does it mean to be human? Like, what can anyone do against immortal rulers and stuff? I mean, he's a psycho. He's not a good person at all, but, like, it's an issue that comes up again and again. And it's linked to our world, which they call Forai, by storms. You get a big storm and someone washes up from Japan for, like, you've got an elderly Japanese person who washed up in World War II at one point, which I mean, nowadays it's actually pretty common for characters to be summoned at different times and from different places. It wasn't back then. usually you'd have the heroes, and they were like the only people you'd ever see from Earth. And 12 Kingdoms doesn't work that way. Really fun show. I hope you learned something about older isekai anime and how they worked, and maybe found one or two you want to watch. So, hope you enjoyed my panel. I'd ask for questions, except this is a YouTube series, so leave a comment and I'll probably respond. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed.